What is the difference between capitalism and communism? You tell me, I will not tell you. Okay. So what is the difference? Basic difference. Okay, we'll sort it down. So in capitalism, yesterday we have discussed, right? Government interference, 0% government interference. Then what else? What is the key feature of capitalism? Another very interesting part is property rights, isn't it? Property rights. Then, and we talk about LLC, that is land, labor, capital. Although there is entrepreneurship, but these are the three major components or factors of production, right? So the LLC is with who? Land, labor, capital is with who is owner of the land, labor and capital? Individuals mostly. Okay. Then what else? What are other key components? ऐसे पढ़ोगे तो यूपीएससी क्लियर हो जाएगा. It's true. You ask any topper why capitalism failed and ask them to give a single word. Most of them read what they want to read. To understand them is a different thing. Okay. So division of labor. Because of division of labor, we will see what? No, not reach poor divide. We see specialization. Okay. So what we are saying? Specialization. Then apart from that, what else is there?
It saves time.
Hmm?
It saves time.
Saves time. See, and end of the day, the objective of an industrialist is what? What he is trying to do? Why anyone puts up or invest his wealth into economy or into any factory? Why an entrepreneur will take risk? He sees a chance, he sees that I can make some profit. It can go either way, isn't it? Okay. So we see the appetite for risk comes from the incentive. That incentive is essentially what? Creation of wealth or profit. Okay. Creation of wealth driven by profit motive, no doubt. Apart from this, is there any other factors that we saw in capitalism? Most of the time, if you see the capitalistic countries and the communist countries in Cold War era, they are mostly democratic countries. That's why they had the freedom and liberty with them. Okay. Mostly democratic countries. And in capitalism, who is determining the prices of goods and services? Market. So it is a market economy, isn't it? Okay. Right? These are the things we have studied yesterday. These are the very key components of capitalism. Apart from this, there exists competition. Yes, that is a good point. Competition exists. Okay. And because of capitalism, these are the advantage or the basic feature of capitalism. What is the disadvantage of capitalism? Sorry? Inequality. Most importantly, we will see inequality. There is inequality, and what else we can talk about? In our constitution also it is mentioned, concentration of wealth. Okay. So we will see concentration of wealth. Concentration of wealth in the hands of few, isn't it? Only few people have access to a lot of wealth. Okay, rest of the people are not much well off. Okay, and do we see any welfare motive in this kind of economic setup? These companies or setups or anything, we don't see any welfare motive. welfareism is almost absent. Okay, the concept of this is, if the individual does good for himself, eventually it will benefit the society. Okay, if every individual takes care of himself, does good for himself, it will benefit the society, right? Now, what else we see in this one, in capitalism? Do we see why capitalism succeeds? Because of a single factor called incentive. Also, if you look at Adam Smith, he talked about what? Invisible hand of the market, the interplay of supply and demand. Okay, interplay of supply and demand. That's what he calls what? Invisible hand of market, right? Apart from this, what else we see in capitalism? It is given by the basic foundation of market economy is given by who? Adam Smith. He is a Scottish philosopher, okay, thinker, and he was actually a professor in Edinburgh University. Okay, he will write a book with a long title. Part of the title is Wealth of Nations. That much we need to remember. Okay. So eventually this idea will be appreciated by a lot of people, specifically the Western countries, specifically USA, Canada, and European countries. Okay. So they will form what? USA, European countries, Europe. When I say Europe, Eastern Europe has a different history altogether. Okay, we'll talk about that. When I am saying Europe, we are talking about mostly the Western countries, or the what we say the OECD countries. Okay, so they form what? Capitalist bloc. ये हो गया पूरा capitalism, everything that you need to know. You can explain it to anyone also. After seeing the setup, when Karl Marx was there, it was around 1848. So it is the 19th century, and he sees that the Europe, the USA is transformed into the USA and Europe transformed into a industrial society. From an agrarian society, it slowly transformed into a industrial society. And because of this transformation, when the fundamentals of the economy is changing, the way people generate their wealth, or the way create or do their income, if it is changing, then it is going to affect the society as well. Okay, so now people are mostly, that's what he says, that people are waking up to the ring bells of the factory or factory bells. Okay, just like a machine, they are going into the war, doing the work in the industry, coming back to home. Okay, so they are not very well to do. The industrialist will not give a lot of or will not benefit or not raise the standards of living of the workers. Okay, this is seen by who? Karl Marx. Karl Marx sees that there is a lot of inequality in this society. Okay, there is a particular minority who is concentrating all the wealth, and the workers are getting exploited. So the small minority who is exploiting the labor of other people or the workers are known as bourgeois. Okay, bourgeois class, this is a French term. And then who are the exploited ones? The workers, proletariat. Okay, and this one, in capitalism we also talk about what? Laissez-faire. What is the term? What is the meaning? Leave it alone. That means leave the market to market forces. Okay, he sees that there is a lot of inequality, a lot of poverty is also there, people are suffering. Okay, so capitalism as an economic system is not doing good for the overall society. So there is no element of welfareism in it. So that's why he will propound what? He will first write a communist manifesto, right, in 1848. Then in 1867 he will write what? Das Kapital with his friend Friedrich Engels. Okay, that will give a kind of a revolution. What we call Marx idea is essentially a revolution. Okay, so what we see over here, he will ask the workers of the world to unite, because only thing that you have to lose is nothing but the bondage or chains. Okay, So he is saying, asking the workers of the world to unite and throw the government, throw the capitalistic system, so that we will go ahead and establish what? So that they will go ahead and establish what? Socialistic system or communist system. As the name suggests, socialism is mostly society oriented, communism is community oriented. Not much difference in between these two. But what is the basic difference between these two, socialism and communism? We are talking about LLC, land, labor, capital, factors of production, right? So in socialism, the government is owning which one? Land and capital. In communism, land, labor, capital. So in socialism, we see emergence of USSR. Purest form of communism, the purest form of Marxism will be implemented in China. Okay. So China will go here. Now we know that if in socialism or communism, who is the producer? Here who is the producer? The individuals, entrepreneurs, industrialists. Here who is the producer? So in this one, in this kind of setup, the government will decide what to produce, how much to produce and how to distribute it. आप क्या पहनोगे, क्या खाओगे, कैसे रहोगे, what kind of clothes, everything will be decided by the government. So here we see 100% government interference. That means government is running the economy, that's why it is called state-led economy. Also it is known as command economy, okay, or centralized economy, right? And the root cause of this, the idea Marx gave, why he gave the idea? He looked at the ills of society, ills of capitalistic societies. That's why it was a reaction to that, setup of economic capitalistic economy. Okay, so it was a reaction. So here the objective will be welfare of all, isn't it? Welfare of all. And in society and community, there is no property rights. Property rights are not there at all. That means the property, the land ho gaya, capital ho gaya, is mostly owned by who? Who is owning it? The government. Okay. And is it driven by the idea of profit? No, it is driven by the idea of welfareism. Okay. And because it is not driven by profit, government can do governance, but can government do business? Recently our Prime Minister in Parliament also, he gave the statement saying that specifically when the debate was going on as far as LIC's disinvestment is concerned. What is LIC's disinvestment? That means LIC, say majority of the stake is owned by the government. Now government will share or sell the stocks of LIC to private players. Okay. So that's what a major debate going on. Obviously everything government does, the opposition will oppose and they have some points too. But that's the statement given by the Prime Minister is that government has no business to be in business. Okay. Because governments, the core job of a government is to govern, regulate. Okay. Not to do business or not to set up factories or not to create a market. In this one, do we see any market, emergence of any market? There is no competition. So this is also known as non-market economy. This is market economy. Here it is non-market economy. Is there any competition? No. Here there is only one thing, that is what we call state monopoly. Okay. State monopoly. Okay. And they were not driven by the idea of creation of wealth. उनको पैसा कैसे generate करना है, profit कैसे generate करना है, they don't know. So eventually these systems will fail. In USSR, in China also will fail. I gave you that example also, why socialism failed, that classroom example. Okay. And Russia will go for what? What are the two policies they will adopt to fundamentally alter the economy? Perestroika and glasnost. Perestroika being restructuring, fundamental restructuring of the economy, and glasnost is openness. Okay. That means they are open to the new ideas. China, same thing. For the namesake, it is a communist country, but all its fundamental is a capitalistic economy. Okay. Not exactly capitalistic economy, mixed economy you can say. So China also will go for open door policy, right? We have discussed all these things. And we know why socialism or communism have failed, why it failed. Because one single factor, that is there is no incentive, and as far as there is no incentive, so why an individual will go for innovation, or why an individual will go for a new idea, innovation and creation of an enterprise? Okay, there is no point in it. Okay, we have discussed these things elaborately, right? Acha, innovation will be high in which kind of economic system? Capitalism. Okay. Welfareism? Here. Okay. What else? So you understood communism and capitalism.
Totalitarianism, like state controls everything, like what you eat, what you wear. So how, that is not.
Totalitarianism means authoritarianism. Gadha piece, there is in Netflix there is a series, How to Become a Tyrant. Okay, if you have time, watch it. You will see, they have given case study of many tyrants, how authoritarian leaders emerge and how they perish eventually. Okay, so there is a different concept altogether. And in totalitarianism, what they do is they set up a crony. They have a groupism rahega. That's what the small minority group will call them, crony. So the president and his near and dear ones will benefit from the economy. They will do everything to exploit as much as resources from the state and aggrandize their self-interest. Okay, that is their whole objective. ये समझ में आ गया? So out of this, if capitalism has been thesis, the antithesis being communism or socialism, out of this reaction emerged the Buddha's middle path, that is mixed economy. Okay, so we saw that there are some good elements in capitalism, there are some good elements in communism. Essentially, communist or socialist have a good heart. These people have a good mind. They know how to create wealth, right? They know how to run the economy. Okay, so we have derived that the mind of the capitalist and the heart of the socialist, and we have created what? Mixed economy. And much of the world now, if you look at it, it is essentially a mixed economy. That means we see that, so here 0% government interference, here 100% government interference. We tried a balance. Okay. Now the idea being, if you look at much of the economic setup, the idea being the government should intervene when there is a economic crisis, or government has to do some kind of bailout in case of recession or depression ho gaya. Say for example COVID-19, all economic almost halted, right? So to restart the economy, government will pump money into the economy through different means and methods and all that. Easy interest rate, all those things we'll discuss. Okay. So when there is a economic stalemate or stagnation is there, government will come into rescue, because it is only the government who has the sovereign rights to print money, right? Government chahega to they can print money too. Okay, we'll talk about that. इतना समझ में आ गया कैपिटलिज्म कम्युनिज्म ये अच्छे से? And we see that here emergence of capitalistic bloc. There in Russia, China, we will see the emergence of communist bloc. The red capitalistic bloc is essentially blue, and communist bloc essentially color coding karoge to red, and there is a fight between going on, and this fight essentially will dominate the Cold War era. And the Cold War era, we will see that eventually the ideological debate will end, that the world came to know that none of these ideas or isms in its purest form is not going to help the people nor the nation. So at the last, what will happen? Cold War will end, and what is the final act of ending of Cold War? Fall of Berlin Wall. Okay.